Good morning, everybody. This is Rebecca White coming to you live in San Francisco. And today, our Talking About Money Walks is about the beautiful state of Colorado. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have several good friends on this call with me, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you how wonderful Colorado is. Before we start with that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in real estate pretty much my whole life, lived in San Francisco about 20 years. This is my 16th year of full-time residential sales in San Francisco and throughout the Bay Area. And our median price of houses right here and now is 1.7 million for single family homes and about 1.3 or 1.4 million for condos. So it's incredibly expensive here. And now with the advent of the coronavirus, if people don't have to stay here, don't have to work here, they're looking for other options. So I'm going to allow my panelists to introduce themselves. And we'll start with Christy, because you were on the call first. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, then we'll go to Katina and then Heather.
Okay. Thanks, Rebecca. Really honored to be here with you and sharing with all of your followers. I am Christy Reese, and I own a real estate company in Grand Junction, Colorado. We are on the western slope of Colorado, about halfway between halfway between Denver and Salt Lake City. So if anybody's ever traveled on I-70, we're right on I-70. And we've got about a little less than 200,000 people in our valley with 3 different communities.
I'm Katina Farrell, and I am a Colorado native. I have been in real estate for 20 years. I've been a broker a little over 5, and I work with a company called Metro Brokers, which is a local Colorado franchise.
And Heather, tell us about you and Crested Butte for a quick minute.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Connor, and I am a realtor here in Crested Butte. Crested Butte, Colorado is located in Gunnison County. And we are southwest of where Katina is, and then we're also east of where Christy Reese is. So we're kind of almost in the middle of them if you were to take a kind of a detour route between the 2 locations.
Great, thank you very much. So let's start with our very first question. And our first question is more of the objective reasons why people would move there, the business reasons. So we'll start with you, Heather, right where we left off, and just kind of go over the median price of homes, other market data. What are some of the reasons to relocate? And the median price of homes, other market data, the economic stability. Talk about taxes, both property tax and income tax. That's of particular interest to Sebastian because he's looking for a place with the low taxes. And the what someone could purchase for $250,000, $500,000, $750,000, or $1 million. I know from our being friends and chatting that the prices are a little bit higher there than other places, and that's why you're one of the top agents in the entire state. So just talk about the business and economic reasons why people would relocate to Crested Butte, please.
Yeah, so I mean, why people would relocate here is a pretty easy question. To get into the metrics first, though, if you look online, you'll see a lot of data out there about Crested Butte. We have a lot of micro markets within our already small market. So I would say to pinpoint an exact median sales price could be misleading. I mean, if you look at the majority of data out there, it says the median sales price for the zip code of 81224, which actually encompasses a lot of our different neighborhoods and towns, that says it's right at 580. However, if you were actually looking at the town of Crested Butte, the city of Crested Butte, it's about 1,500 to 1,700 people. We're growing currently at a rapid rate. And growing is, for us in our small community, a median for a single family home for us in the town of Crested Butte, it's actually closer to $1 million. And at the $1 million price point, you're still looking at a fixer upper. As far as price per square foot, and I'm going to focus on single family homes in the town of Crested Butte, because I think that data can be very specific and misleading if you don't understand the parameters around it. So for this case, the city of Crested Butte single family home, you're looking at probably right around $550 per square foot if you're buying a single family home that is a fixer upper and maybe almost a complete gut job, a complete renovation. And then you can also up in the 1,000 plus per square foot. That is more of a move-in ready home. As far as taxes, let's see here. Our property tax for Gunnison is 7.15%. We work off of a mill levy system. And then income tax in Colorado is 4.63%. As far as why Crested Butte? That's just a really easy question to answer. We have, number one, a really strong community. And it's one of the biggest things that not only draws people here, but also keeps them here. I would say number two, just life quality. Our life quality is really high. For
Okay, Heather,
example,
yeah, we'll get it more into that in the second part of the questions. So I just want to focus on kind of the economic and the business things for right now. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But basically, your economy is strong, but isn't it based more on tourism?
it is. We have a couple sectors. We are very much a tourist community. We're part of the Epic Pass now, so we are a ski resort. I think something that surprises folks is that we are far busier in the summer, and summer is our largest economic month, is our largest economic time period, more than the winter. So we'll see what happens as thing goes on, as ownership continues under Vail, and also see what happens this winter under our new restrictions with the COVID safety guidelines.
Great, thanks. Thank you so much. So Katina, same question. Let's talk about business, economy, median price of homes, your real estate market. Obviously, a lot of people are moving to where you are. It's really bright green. So there's a lot of net migration of wealth. Tell us some of the business reasons and what your houses are selling for there.
Well, it's really interesting, especially looking at, say, Denver and the 11 county areas surrounding us. We have a lot of migration in city. So our biggest people are staying, I think, in Colorado, just moving around to different parts. Our average home price in the Denver metro area just went up to 606. I think we are, ranked number 5 right now in the US on most expensive housing market. And just like Heather said too, we have a lot of different micro markets here. So if you're looking, say, in Denver proper, you can buy a maybe 600 to 800 square foot condo at that 250 price range, but you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $1,000 HOA fees. So that kind of offsets definitely that lower price point. And then moving up, yeah, boy, if I go up to Denver metro, anywhere 500 to 600,000, you're going to buy about a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot home. Smaller light lot size. Those homes were built probably in the 1950s, 1960s, and then you really go up from there. As for people, as for say our job market, I think in in February, before COVID hit, we were, I think, ranked number 3 in the United States for unemployment. We did not, in the highest market in the nation, we were ranked 4th in wage growth. So I think the whole COVID thing it needs some more time to really see what our market's going to do, but our housing market's strong, just like everywhere else throughout the country right now. So actually, currently, Denver has half the amount of active homes on the market that we did September of last year. So.
Wow, that's fascinating because I'm used to being in a very expensive place. So it's interesting to hear about other places being expensive. Christy, tell us about what houses are selling for and what your median price is and how the economy is and that type of thing for your neck of the woods.
All right. Well, Grand Junction's kind of an unknown part of Colorado. Most people think of Colorado as mountains and ski towns, and we are on the western slope as you're headed towards Utah. So we're coming out of the mountains and into the desert and the valleys. So we are typically more reasonably priced and lower cost of living than a lot of the places in Colorado. Our median price right now is $282,000, so very affordable. Median property tax is at $1,300 a year. Income tax, same as Heather said, Colorado is at 4.63. Again, relatively low cost of living here. We do have a university in town, so that is a real driver of our economy. All through the recession, our university was building buildings, housing, classrooms, and they have really grown. And we have a student population of over 11,000 now. So we're a nice little university town, and recreation drives our economy a lot. We've really diversified. We've become a great place for retirees because we don't get as much snow as the rest of Colorado. And we have great medical here too. So we used to rely a lot on oil and gas, but we are having a much more stable economy now based on outdoor recreation, medical, and education. So in our real estate market, $250,000 will buy you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, new construction home of 1,200 square feet. 500,000 will get you in a really desirable area of town, a 1/3 acre with over 2,000 square feet of living space. 750 will get you 1 to 3 acres. An older home with 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, or new construction of 3,500 square feet on a 1/3 acre. And $1 million will get you, going to describe one of my listings that's right under $1 million, 14 acres with a 4,000 square foot home, including an in-law apartment, a horse setup, all irrigated, and a 3,000 square foot shop building. So we do have irrigation water, cheap irrigation water here in our valley, right out of the Colorado River, and that keeps everything green, even though we're in the desert. And yeah, great place to live and affordable.
Great, thank you so much. I always learn so much from these conversations. So I really appreciate your sharing your insight, because obviously you know a lot more about these places than I do. So we'll continue with Christy. And the second part of the question is more the personal and subjective reasons, the quality of life, the schools, the medical care, the reasons to relocate and retire, such as attractions and desirability. What's the recreation? I know there's probably a lot of recreation in Colorado, but just tell us about the personal reasons. You know, why are you there? Why have you stayed there? Why have you moved there? Just, you know, why would I want to move to Colorado other than it's a lot more affordable than San Francisco?
Yeah, well, Colorado is just a great place to live. I mean, great recreation opportunities. And I hope you can see me. Can you? I can't see myself on the screen, but I wanted to be outside here so you can see the red rocks behind me, because this is a big part of the reason why I live here.
Yeah, we can see your backyard, it looks like.
Yeah.
That's red.
Yeah.
That's red rocks. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, the start of canyon country here as you go down towards kind of southeastern Utah, southwestern Utah, and the Grand Canyon country. So it kind of starts here, but we're in close proximity to the mountains as well. So the thing that I love about living in Grand Junction is that you can be in the snow and at 10,000 feet within 45 minutes of downtown Grand Junction, or you can be in the desert and the canyons. So proximity to a lot of different great locations. I can go skiing in Telluride. And we like to say here that you can go skiing in the morning and play golf in the afternoon, because we have that varied topography within just a short location. I think the quality of life here is really great too. It's a little slower pace. We don't have any traffic problems. We have a great climate, so we don't get as much snow as the mountains, but it's really mild in the winter, and it's great for retirees. And we have great medical services. So we're the main medical center between Denver and Salt Lake City. We have 2 really great hospitals and the Flight for Life. And those hospitals service a pretty big region, because we do have a lot of small towns in Colorado. Oh, you know what? I realize now why you're seeing what you said was backyard, because I have my screen turned around the wrong way. There we go. Now you can see me and the behind me.
Oh,
That's what I was hoping for.
It just looks like dirt. Yeah. Okay, now we can see the rock. This is where you live?
Yeah, I'm in my backyard right now. So
wow.
Colorado looks like Sedona.
Yeah, this is the Colorado National Monument behind me. Beautiful public lands right behind me. So I think the other reasons here, lots of opportunity. There's lots of untapped resources, and we're a growing university town. So I think there's a lot of opportunity along with that. As I said, our university's been growing over the last 10 years. And I think we're just a really nice size. Lots of small towns in Colorado, 3,000, 4,000, and lots of little ski areas. And then you've got Denver and Colorado Springs, and we're kind of that in between. About 200,000 population, a little bit less than that in 3 different communities in our valley. We've got 2 big rivers coming through, and it's just a nice size. You can be anonymous if you want to, but you can also go somewhere and find someone anytime you want to. So I really love that about it. And I think a lot of people are searching for communities of this size when they're looking to leave the big cities. So
great. That is great. I'm glad we figured out about your screen, because that's pretty amazing to see what's going on there. I like that. So great. So Heather, let's go back up to you. You kind of started talking about quality of life. Let's go into a little more detail. I know you're from a very small town. You've lived there for a long time and your family's there. So tell us about, why would I want to move to Crested Butte other than to hang out with you?
There's a
Which
lot
would
of
be a good
reasons.
enough reason for me because I love you, you know that.
Well, actually, just to circle back really quickly, I realized that Christy and Katina shared what 255, 750, a million would get in their community, and I skipped that part. So here, again, focusing on the city of Crested Butte, 250, that will get you a studio that's free market, or it will get you a studio condo that is free market, or it can get you a 1-bedroom with a deed restriction. When you move up to the 500,000 price point, you can move into about a 2-bedroom condo here. A lot of the condo complexes in that price point, they do tend to be zoned where they are not allowed to have STRs, which is short-term rentals, in place. So you do have to be careful of that if that is something that's important to the buyer. In the 750 price range, that's when you move into a townhome. It may be designated a condo, but it's a townhome style, or maybe it just shares one wall with another property. You tend to get a little bit of yard, your own parking space. And then when you move to the 1 million, it's kind of crazy for me to say this because our market is just changing so rapidly right now. But now moving into the 1 million, you can move into a single family home at that price point. But like I mentioned, with the market as it stands, you're moving into a fixer-upper or possibly a complete renovation. So, but
so if I'm sorry, I was going to say, if $1 million is your median price and you don't really get much for that, what price do you have to have a decent house? What might you get for 2 million or 5 million?
Exactly. So because we have a lot of micro markets, I'm talking specifically about the city of Crested Butte. Now, if you were to move outside of the city, you can buy a beautiful home for under $1 million out in CB South, out in the surrounding neighborhoods. They are still considered the same zip code as the city of Crested Butte. But when you move out into Buckhorn, you move into Larkspur, Skyland, certain areas around there, you can still find certain, actually I removed Skyland, but Buckhorn area, Larkspur, Riverland, all those neighborhoods are really close to the area and you could easily buy a beautiful turnkey home in that price point. So our market is it's already small, but then we have a lot of micro markets that can change dramatically within a very close proximity.
Great, thank you so much. So Katina, tell us about why we should move to, because you're in Parker, I think your office is in Inglewood. What are the differences that make some of these towns just outside of Denver special if people don't want to live in Denver, or should people move to the big city of Denver? And just curious, because it is the biggest city there, do you have some of the problems that other large cities have, like homeless and crime? Maybe tell us about those things too.
Well, we definitely have the homeless and crime in Denver. I don't think as extreme as some of the bigger cities, as in New York and California. I think Denver's a little bit of a friendlier city. It feels like it is. We're just not as massive as those big cities. We do have just outside. So I live in, my office is in Denver Tech Center and I live in Parker. So, Denver Tech Center is 20 minutes from Denver and Parker's probably, with traffic, another 20, 25 minutes. Personally, I live here because I always tell everyone it's within an hour of everything. We can get to the city in an hour. We can get to the mountains in about an hour, at least the beginning of the foothills. And I think we'll all three probably have real close to the same answer with accessibility to the great outdoors. It's hard to beat Colorado. Within 5 minutes of where I live, I can go into Castlewood Canyon. I can go hiking. I can jump on Cherry Creek Trail, ride bikes, 20 some odd miles down the trail to Denver if I choose to, or go the other way and end up in Castlewood. So accessibility is huge. And then we also have some great things too. We have, even right in the Denver Tech Center, is Fiddler's Green, which is a great amphitheater. Lots of good concerts when we can go to concerts. And that's within, half hour of downtown Denver or half hour of really any of the surrounding cities. And then you go from there into Red Rocks, which is world famous. And I love that part of it. So that's a good thing. And Colorado just has a diverse economy. I think we're really diverse. We go from technology and we have the ability for people to be able to work from home. So I think that's what the great thing about the burbs right now. So that's why I'd say come to Colorado. That's the reason I've never left, because I'm a native. Have no intentions of leaving.
Good for you. Good for you. Except for to go to Mexico once in a while, right?
Oh yeah, as often as possible. That's a good place to visit.
Obviously, we're going to talk about that in the future sometime too, because I think I think a lot of people will stay in the United States, but at some point when it comes to retirement, it just depends how this pandemic plays out, because I think smaller towns might be safer. I know in California, a lot of my friends in smaller towns are safer, but I also know in Crested Butte, where Heather is, which is about 1,500 population, the whole town got it in February because of the people coming from Europe. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as time goes by. So let's continue with you, Katina, and just kind of summarize your top 2 or 3 reasons. Both they can be economic or they can be personal, but what are the top 2 or 3 reasons someone should move to Denver or Parker, Colorado?
I think I kind of honed in on those, and that is it's our accessibility to recreation. And being close to anything and being outside. That's a huge part. I'd say also because everyone loves dogs here, but I don't know if that qualifies. Because like everybody has a dog. And we have dog-friendly restaurants everywhere. I don't know if they do that everywhere else, but so that's probably one of the number 1 reasons. And we just, I feel, for me personally, I think safety is a big thing too. And we don't have a huge crime rate where I live. Or even the outskirts of the suburban areas in Denver. So those would probably be my top 2 reasons.
Great, thanks. Actually, I just want to digress for 1 second, because San Francisco, we're named after St. Francis, who's kind of the patron saint of animals. And there's 2 things that are interesting about that here, just for the sake of whatever. One is that we actually are not allowed to be dog owners. We are pet guardians. So we can't own animals. We can just be their guardian and take care of them. And the second thing that's kind of interesting is that we have more dogs than children in San Francisco. So people definitely love dogs. We have dog-friendly restaurants. And now that all of our dining is outside, there's no indoor seating in restaurants. People are taking their dogs and dining outside. It's really interesting. So definitely very dog-friendly economy here. So dog-friendly city. So it's nice to know that about Denver as well, because pets are important, especially now that people are sheltering in place, and they're good companions for people who might be single or older, that type of thing. So that's great.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll clarify that I don't own my dog. She owns me. So I mean, just to be clear, I don't even think I own her. So
that's great. That's great. So Chris, tell us about the top 2 or 3 reasons someone should move to Grand Junction. Just kind of summarize up a little bit. Everybody talked about a lot of great points. So if you had to pick just 2 or 3, what would those be, please?
I think wide open spaces, number 1. We have so much public land in Colorado, and that's such a benefit for everyone. And it really feels like you've got some elbow room here. Even if you're in the downtown core, it really feels spacious. Recreation opportunities. We're a mountain biking mecca. We've got rivers, we've got mountains, skiing, all kinds of recreation opportunities, and that's a huge draw for us. And as I said before, I just think there's a lot of opportunities here. People are starting to discover Grand Junction. It used to be one of those places that people stop to get gas on their way to somewhere else. And we're really developing a beautiful business park down by the river, and lots of new businesses coming in from other places. And I think it's a very business-friendly community, and just a ton of opportunity here. And we have some really interesting things, like a lot of paleontology, lots of dinosaur bones, and fun things to do like that.
Well, and what I'm amazed, because I haven't seen the sun in several days, because we're all smoked in and smog and the fog and the foghorns are going up. Your blue sky is just gorgeous. We don't have that here right now. Hopefully we'll have it back, but it's just kind of nice to see a blue sky. I want to reach out and touch it. Miss blue sky.
And we're thinking about you in California. The rest of us around the country are just watching with our hearts. So sad for all of you.
We appreciate that. Appreciate that. It's just crazy what's going on here right now. So Heather, and let me ask one quick question. What's the population there in Grand Junction?
A little less than 200,000 in our big valley in our county, which includes Fruita, Grand Junction and Palisade, Colorado.
Okay. And I know, Heather, you're like 1,500 in Crested Butte and 15,000 in the county.
Yeah, and I should probably clarify the 1,500. So I just saw that our numbers are actually closer to 1,700. That's for the city of Crested Butte. And if you look at the county of Gunnison, we're at a little bit over 16,000. Of the portion of Gunnison County that I service and is really close to Crested Butte. So that would be Crested Butte, Mount Crested Butte, Almont, and Gunnison. That whole area, we're probably more closer to 7,000.
Great, thank you. So now we'll you can tell us, Heather, the top 2 or 3 reasons why someone would move to Crested Butte. Because I know you have a lot of retirement people. You probably have people into skiing like your parents when they moved there. What are some reasons? Because you grew up somewhere else, you moved there with your family, but obviously you've stayed. So what are the top 2 or 3 reasons you're there or you think people move there?
Yeah, so excited about this portion. I tried to jump into it earlier than I was supposed to. That's a really easy question to answer here. First of all, I think you're going to hear a lot of repeat from what Christy and Katina said. Colorado in general, we just are a recreation mecca. I would say that if you're to look at Crested Butte, we have pretty much all the things that they just stated, but they're just even closer. So for example, when you look at going skiing, my office is right at what is known as the 4-way. We don't have any traffic lights here, but we have a 4-way. And at the 4-way, I can genuinely walk right outside my office door, hop on the shuttle, and be at the ski resort area within 6 minutes.
When you say 4-way, mean a 4-way stop?
4-way stop, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure because like we got a few of those here, but yeah.
There was talk of putting a traffic light in our town, and that was really a big discussion because we don't have one. So right now we have a 4-way. So absolutely the recreation opportunities our mountain is only a few moments. It's 3 miles away from the town. You can genuinely hop on your mountain bike out your front door and make it to world-class mountain biking. There's incredible hiking, a lot of peaks and trails that a lot of folks take photos of and take home because they're just so celebrated. We have the Blue Mesa Reservoir, which is about 40 minutes away, and that is just amazing water recreation. So people can ski. Wake surfing is something that it's been around a long time. I was recently introduced to it. So fun. But you can pretty much do any recreation out your door here. I would also say that the number one thing I would say is actually the community. For being a resort community and having a lot of visitors, a lot of second homeowners, a lot of folks that may only utilize their home a few weeks or a few months of the year, we actually have a really strong community. I think it's what drives people here in the first place. I also think it's what keeps folks here. And all of that kind of combines into maybe a third point, or it's one holistic point, and that's just the quality of life. Our quality of life here is very high.
Great, that's real important to know. So thank you ladies all very much for participating, and I really, really appreciate that. So Sebastian, just kind of curious what questions you might have of these ladies. If they cover.
Thank you. I actually have a brother in Boulder, so I've been to Denver multiple times, and I sort of have a sense of the Denver area. My observation, Heather, is Crested Butte is way overpriced. So I'm not sure that's even sort of in consideration for me. I have to be honest, Christie's pitch for Grand Junction kind of piqued my interest. So I do have a question. I know Colorado has interesting politics. Can you maybe talk about the politics in Grand Junction, kind of where it leans? I'm sure it's different than, say, Boulder or parts of the Denver area.
Yeah, everything's different than Boulder. Boulder's a world unto itself. I would say in general, Crested Butte, Grand Junction tends to be more on the conservative side. We have a history of oil and gas exploration, which has diminished somewhat, and we are broadening our economic base. But I would say overall, our politics are more on the conservative side, but it's becoming a little bit more balanced as more people move in, more recreationalists move in who tend to be a little bit more liberal. So I think it's a little more balanced. I was really proud of our community during the unrest that we've seen in the country over the last few months. Very nice, peaceful protests and people working together. The sheriff's department, the police department, the university spokespeople, and lots of people getting together and trying to figure out how we can make our community better and stronger. But no violence, no problems, just a lot of working together. That was really good to see.
Does that
Thank you.
answer your question, Sebastian?
Yeah,
Or do you have
it
to go
does.
further?
It's sort of, my hunch was consistent with what Christy had explained, but I just, I like you had mentioned, I've driven through Grand Junction, probably filled up, but I have never really had a chance to explore it. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you have to get off the highway to see. One of the things that I forgot to mention was that we're a big agricultural community. So we've got that irrigation water out of the Colorado River, and that's also been a big driver of our economy lately. Is we have peaches and wines. We have over 15 wineries here in the Valley. So we're trying to give Napa a run for their money.
Wow. I love wine, as Heather knows. We went wine tasting last week.
We did. We had
The
fun.
week before last. So. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Cool. Is Boulder very liberal because it's a university town as well, do you think?
Very much so, but it has just it has become more and more liberal over the years and just remained that way. And it tends to just continue to have that focus, that will never be broken. We call it the People's Republic of Boulder.
That's what we call Berkeley, the People's Republic of Berkeley, or Berkeley. Sebastian lives in the East Bay, knows what I'm talking about. So that's interesting. All right. Any more questions or parting comments or anything you guys want to ask each other or to talk?
No, that was it. I really appreciate the snapshot. I think it's interesting that, there's parts, Colorado can be very different in different places. And it seems like even the real estate prices can be significantly different from one area to the next.
Yeah, I was really in shock when I learned about Heather's prices because I had no idea that much. And then Katina, I didn't know that. I mean, I'm in San Francisco. I know we're expensive. I know New York's expensive, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, and they have in Chicago, a lot of the big cities are very expensive. Miami. I was surprised that Denver has gotten so expensive. And that just kind of blew my mind. I had no idea because you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and yet obviously it's very desirable and very affordable. Though your taxes do seem a little high, especially what Heather talked about. Because we have our property tax, depending what county you're in, like in Oakland, I think it's 1.25%, and in San Francisco it's 1.18 or 0.00118 or something like that. So just under 1.2 per thousand. But we have much bigger prices, but still our tax rate's kind of low compared to the rest of you. So great. So I'm gonna stop the live streaming now because we can just kind of chat among ourselves. They're basically we're done. So let me just do that here. Stop live stream. And I just want to thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. And we will revisit Colorado at some point in the future. We're going to talk in the future about Fort Collins and Colorado Springs. I'm looking forward to that. I really appreciate everyone who did participate today. Thank you very much.